Understanding how the media helps educate people at being effective at preventing terror attacks is very, very important to help prevent and be effective at preventing terror attacks. In my opinion, the reason why the FBI is investigating the explosion in the picture that you're looking at is because that is an explosive device small enough to fit on a drone. All of the evidence is that the threatened terror attacks in the eastern to southern states are drone attacks with explosive devices. Those attacks that are very hard to do, that law enforcement has developed very profound resources to prevent, although what is required is that people provide the important, critical, and pertinent information that reveals the search parameter that identifies a person planning a terror attack. That is the most important contribution that the people can make, and people have to learn to make. There was a story about a person that walked into a gun store, and he tried to buy pieces of equipment that were commonly used in terror attacks. Now, the store owner became very suspicious of the person that was trying to buy items that were used in terror attacks. What that person didn't do is didn't data mine, develop a relationship with the buyer. He didn't say to the person something, hey, you know, I was in the military, man, and we all really had a hard time being in the military. We all suffered really horribly, and you know, I have friends that were previous PD officers, you know, wanted to be PD officers and those kinds of things. And I tell you, the prejudice and those kinds of things was just really horrible. And would be a way to do that. Had that person called up the PD and said, hey, I've got a disgruntled person that wanted to be a PD officer that's attempting to buy items commonly used in terror attacks. That was the critical piece of information that would have changed the priority and the ability of law enforcement to find that person. Cyber terrorists hack a very small amount of data. Previous PD officers that are disgruntled, people that wanted to be PD officers, they're disgruntled in those. That's a very small amount of data that cyber terrorists hack that law enforcement has a very firm grasp of. Had that shop owner taken the time to develop a relationship with the person trying to buy items commonly used in a terror attack and did some data mining to get the critical search parameter that law enforcement could have easily used to determine if the person was really, to find the person and determine if the person was planning a terror attack, is easily done. And a very, very high priority if that very simple piece of metadata is provided. The critical piece of metadata was that he was a previous PD officer, want to be PD officer that was disgruntled. That was the critical piece of information. Coming to drones. People who sell drones cannot make the same mistake. They have to understand that putting weapons on drones is something that the American government is very, very effective at finding those people if they receive the pertinent information that reveals a search parameter and metadata to find a person planning a terror attack. I would have to say that because a terror attack that involved drones and weapons on drones would have to be totally deniable. It would have to be reported as a domestic act of terror. It could not be reported or determined to be a foreign act of terror, or that would be an act of war. Understanding those very specific profiles is important to do. So the person that was recruited by propaganda, radicalized internet propaganda, to want to commit a weaponized drone attack wouldn't be very smart, would be inclined to discuss his proclivities and manifestos against the American people, American government,